Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2021 Cruise 360. And now, please welcome your host, CLIA Vice President of Industry and Trade Relations, Charles Sylvia, ECC.
Wow. I didn't think I'd get this choked up. Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the reunion of the North American cruise community. Welcome to Cruise 360. It is marvelous to be in the beautiful sunshine and warmth of Hollywood, Florida at the spectacular Diplomat Beach Resort. What do you think of the wonderful view from this property? The presence of each and every one of us in this ballroom right now, live and in person, is symbolic of a collective love letter from all of us to a passion we have known since the very first moment we stepped off of a gangway, our enduring love of cruise travel. Do you feel it? Do you feel the love? Cruise 360 is the center of the cruise universe, and we are so grateful and happy that you chose to be a part of this very special week. Thank you for being here and for your loyal membership and support of CLIA and all the work that we do. I hope you're ready for a jam-packed, exciting, fast-paced 6 days filled with learning, best practices sharing, networking, and a whole lot of fun. Cruise 360 is just that. It's a 360-degree view of all that cruising has to offer you and your clients. There will be opportunities for you to meet, hear from, and interact with the leaders of the cruise industry, many of whom are celebrities in their own right. I'm looking for you, Vicky Freed. You will also learn the latest about CLIA ocean-going cruise lines and river cruise operators in our cruise line showcases. And don't forget to take selfies with the cruise line executives that you meet and post those pics with the hashtag Cruise360 and WeAreCruise so that your clients can see how well connected you all are. Now, some of you have already participated in our pre-conference certificate programs yesterday, and I'd like to thank you for choosing to specialize in a particular area of cruise travel, because as we have seen in countless success stories, specialization leads to growth. I also hope that you plan on being part of our CLIA seminars, product and destination workshops, enhanced virtual ship inspections, and the Cruise 360 trade show, because these program offerings will deliver unique learning experiences and insights to help you grow your cruise productivity and commission income in more ways than ever. Plus, for those of you who are smartly pursuing your first or next level of CLIA certification, there is no better way to fast-track your achievement of certification than by being right here and making the most out of your Cruise 360 experience. Folks, this week is the turning point that we have all been waiting for, signaling a brighter future for the cruise industry and ushering in a renaissance for the travel advisor profession. We have never been more relevant and valuable to our clients than we are right now. And what we learn here this week will help us continue to demonstrate the importance of booking through a travel advisor for years to come. I am so happy to spend this week with you and finally reunite in person once again. And that's what this year's Cruise 360 is all about, us reuniting and being together. Now, you might not see a lot of the razzle-dazzle of past years, as we are in a period of austerity while the industry restarts. But I can promise you that we will have a thoroughly enjoyable and rewarding experience together in the days ahead. Are you as excited as I am? Well, today we have a very exciting lineup for this opening general session. We thought it important to get right to the heart of things with CLIA senior leadership and share our strategy for the future. A little bit later in the session, we will hear from CLIA Global Chair Pier Francesco Vago, and we will also hear directly from several of you as we address your questions live. But first, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and high privilege to welcome to Cruise 360 the President and Chief Executive Officer of Cruise Lines International Association, Kelly Craighead.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone.
Welcome, Kelly.
What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps even lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over 'cause you're gone.
You know, Charlie's always a hard act to follow, so I'll do my best to just tell you that I hope you feel our love, because we certainly have worked diligently to be able to provide this opportunity for us all to be together. And I'm just so happy that so many of you could join us. You know, when we were last together, I don't think anybody could have imagined what would lay ahead. For nearly a year and a half, all of us have really fought through one of the most extraordinary times in the world's history. We've been confronted with challenges that none of us have ever encountered, and this has been especially true for the cruise industry. Needless to say, the economic fallout that was caused by the pandemic has deeply impacted our businesses and tested our strength individually and collectively. Thankfully, bit by bit, from river to ocean, cruising is getting back on course. The progress we've made is in large part, as Charlie said, due to you. So before I say more, let me just pause and introduce someone who couldn't be with us today, but who I know firsthand is working tirelessly around the clock to be able to put cruising back on track. And that's the Executive Chairman of MSC Cruises and CLIA's Global Chairman, Mr. Pier Francesco Vago.
Thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to be talking with you at Cruise 360, the first in-person cruise conference in the North America since the coronavirus pandemic began. It has been a long and challenging 16 months for all of us in the cruise industry. We have always been an important driver of economies globally, supporting 1.70 million jobs and contributing nearly $155 billion in worldwide economic output in 2019. The voluntary suspension of our industry took its toll on the wider cruise community. In 2020, every 1% loss of cruises resulted in a reduction of 9,100 industry-related jobs. Each day, our suspension translated into 2,500 jobs lost. So behind this statistic, the reality has been a stark loss of too many livelihoods supported by our industry. As travel advisors, You have first-hand knowledge of the difficulties faced. You were all on the front lines with our mutual customer trying to navigate the uncharted waters of this devastating pandemic. Today, with cruises finally sailing in US waters, we are once again able to look to the future with renewed optimism. We are very excited about this and your dedication to customer service. Your customer service is largely responsible for the prevailing positive sentiment for our industry. Simply said, our recovery would not be possible without your tireless efforts to support and satisfy our customer during these most difficult times. The North American travel trade members also played a significant role in the Ready, Set, Sail campaign, helping to reach out to policymakers on behalf of a responsible and safe resumption in the United States. But you didn't stop there. While cruising in the United States may be idle, you are not. You use this time to continue communicating with your customer about other important industries issues, including sustainable travel and destination stewardship initiatives, and the cruise industry dedication and commitment across all areas of responsible tourism. As the trade association representing the global cruise industry, all of us at CLIA work on behalf of individual cruise lines to supplier as well as you, the travel advisor, ports and destinations. Our top priority is advancing the responsible resumption of cruise operation around the world. More than 500,000 passengers have been sailed since operation restarted last summer with the important science-backed protocols that have proven effective even before vaccines became widely available. Still, much work remains to reach pre-pandemic levels and help the industry accommodate the demand of nearly 30 million travelers who cruised in 2019. So as travel advisors, you play a major role in their recovery. Cruisers love to cruise, and travel advisors love to plan the best travel holidays experience for their cruising clients. That is why it is so important that you all gather together today in person at Cruise 360 in Hollywood, in Florida. As we prepare the groundwork for cruising to return, we redefined the entire cruise experience from the moment you book your clients until they return home. And we achieved this while preserving what makes a cruise vacation so special and unique. You'll be familiar with the industry-leading protocols of the CLIA member policy for COVID-19. Ours was the first industry to mandate 100% testing for all our passengers and crew. This was an important first step that companies in other sectors have since adopted. And we have shared this policy with governments, port communities, and our partners around the world. We know the guests who have sailed since last summer have welcomed these rigorous measures in place to protect their health, enabling them to relax and enjoy their cruise with confidence. I'm an optimist by nature, and I believe the cruise industry, to use the words of President Biden, will build back better. Obviously, there is still so much more work to be done, but I believe the cruise industry is uniquely resilient. Our research shows that the public wants to cruise. Our goal with your help is to provide safe holiday experiences for all who want to cruise. So we appreciate your devoting your time to this year's Cruise 360 at this beautiful Diplomat Beach Resort. We hope that this is the first of many more in-person industry-wide events to come. So thank you.
We do appreciate you being here. After all we've been through, your presence here today is a testament to the resilience and the promise of our industry. You know, in 2019, when we were last at Cruise 360, nearly 30 million passengers were expected to set sail, with even more passengers sailing in 2020. Indeed, in March of 2020, instead of sailing, our industry voluntarily suspended operations. And in an instant, we went from helping create a best-in-class holiday experience, supporting a global workforce of 1.2 million people, to scrambling to bring hundreds of thousands of people home, passengers and crew, from more than 100 countries, as borders, as you know, were shutting down as if they were like falling dominoes. So as the world was coming to terms with a once-in-a-century pandemic, CLIA and our cruise line members, as Mr. Vago said, joined with some of the most respected medical experts in the world to develop and implement new COVID-19 health and safety measures that are among the most stringent found anywhere, and especially in travel and tourism. At the same time, CLIA was working alongside all of you, our individual agent, travel agency, and premier agency members, and the other businesses that make up CLIA's diverse membership, to make sure that you would have access to information about and access to federal support relief and other relief programs. For the first time through this experience, I hope you've had a chance to see the full breadth and depth of what CLIA does beyond providing you with extraordinary professional development, certification programs, and business growth benefits. Through our ramped-up virtual offerings, we were able to keep you connected to industry leaders and each other's, and to provide up-to-the-minute information about this ever-changing information. I used to think it was daily, then I thought it was hourly, and now it's minute by minute. But through these opportunities, I hope you had a chance to witness how CLIA and our in-house experts represent and support the industry in many ways, including through the development of maritime policy, the delivery of government affairs, and strategic communications. You know, along with our cruise line members, we've been engaging with governments and authorities at all levels all around the world in cruise markets that have been shut down at varying degrees. We do this to help put our ships back in operation and to restore opportunities for you, your businesses, your colleagues, and our industry. And while we have a long way to go, I'm pleased to say that with your help, we've made enormous progress. You know, one of the silver linings of the crisis, for me at least, has been proof that when our community comes together and operates as a whole, we truly are greater than the sum of our parts. You know, because our name is a little misleading, it's important to know that CLIA not only represents some of the most prestigious ocean and river cruise lines, we also represent tens of thousands of businesses that are dependent on a functioning cruise industry, including shipyards and ports and destinations, as Mr. Vago said, service providers of all kind, and travel advisors like you. So with the industry-leading protocols in place guiding the resumption of operations in Europe and Asia, it was you and your voices that broke through and made the case for cruise resumption here in the United States. After more than a year of zero operations, and with an improving public health condition as a result of a successful vaccine rollout, the call for cruising was getting louder and louder. By early spring, President Biden was predicting that the US would be closer to normal by the 4th of July. That was a turning point. How could we be closer to normal if an entire industry, one whose suspension had already caused the loss of 300,000 US jobs and cost the US economy $39 billion, was still prevented from operating? So on March 24th, we launched the Ready, Set, Sail initiative. And virtually overnight, we had cruise supporters rallying together to support the responsible resumption of cruise operations. Almost 50,000 people have participated in the US campaign, and I know many of you are in this room. As we raised our voice and with the help of friends and allies in all places, including Congress, the administration, and with elected officials from throughout the United States, the US government, including the CDC, went to work, issuing the instructions we needed to resume passenger operations in the United States as part of the conditional sale order that's in place until November 1st. As other businesses started to rebuild, and we knew our ships needed at least 90 days to get ready to sail, the initial goal of the effort was to have ships sailing by July. I'm pleased to say that together we were able to exceed that goal. In fact, 25 ships have already sailed from US ports this month, including in Alaska, where the loss of the 2020 cruise season alone cost the state $3 billion in lost revenue. So let's catch a glimpse of where we are today, thanks in large measure to your direct engagement.
One year ago, only 1% of cruising's global ocean capacity was in operation. Over the following months, we worked together, collaborating with leading health experts to enhance the industry's existing health measures, creating a familiar, world-class travel experience with the highest level of COVID-19 mitigation. Today, nearly 32% of global ocean capacity is sailing again, returning people to work, and once again offering travelers one of the best ways to experience the world.
We're back. It feels like we're going to go forward. The travel industry, cruising, we're restarting our lives again.
The cruise lines' health and safety protocols are the best, and I would say are the strongest, healthiest, safest, cleanest protocols out there.
I think they're very proactive. I think that they have risen to a level that is truly a safe level for all of us here.
If they continue, we'll make things safer on ships anyway moving forward.
It seemed like that we would be the safest. We're vaccinated. They were taking all the different steps. Feels great.
It was amazing to spend so much time with family and friends back home, but of course missing that feeling of being on board and really having a sense of belonging again, and you know, coming back and seeing so many familiar faces was just such an amazing thing.
Cruise industry to be back, I think it's helping not only us as a crew member, I think it's helping many jobs as well on the land and so on. So it's extraordinary that they're back.
There's nothing to be said like this. I'm really lucky, I need to say, because a lot of the crew members are still back home, they wanted to join. I'm lucky to be back. Lucky, I'm very happy.
I'm very excited to be the part of the history. This is very good feeling.
It just felt normal to be back cruising again. And now coming to the close of the first week, I'm ready for my next one.
So based on the latest public information, we expect about 150 ships will be sailing by the end of this summer. So that gets us closer to about 50% of CLIA's ocean-going cruise ships. As I said, this is good progress, but our work is far from over. Not all markets are open, notably in Australia and Canada. The emergence of the Delta and other variants is cause for concern, and some countries are closing their borders again for various travelers. Moreover, we know to get back on track, to be able to actually meet the supply of the kind of new, amazing, state-of-the-art ships that are on order, we actually need 37 million people to choose cruise for their vacation by 2025. That's 7 million more passengers than we had in 2019. The good news, as Mr. Vago said, is that cruisers love to cruise, and CLIA's data shows that 82% of past cruisers are likely to cruise again in the next few years. That's one of the ways why your help is so important. We're going to need your help to be able to close this gap. Now, our policy and government affairs and communication teams, along with our cruise lines, will continue to do the work of collaborating with destinations and authorities and supporting the ongoing recovery efforts. But the key to reaching this kind of success, these levels that I've mentioned, is the need to keep each and every one of you engaged as part of the cruise industry. You know, the industry's reputation, as you know, has been challenged like it's never been before. So together, we must do a better job of correcting the record and telling the positive story of cruise. You know, factual inaccuracies and misrepresentations have far-reaching impacts at the national level, but also at the state and the local level. This is true both from a policy, but also a reputational perspective. So in addition to getting the word out about these health and safety protocols and the priority that is a business imperative for the cruise operators about the priority they put on health, safety of their passengers, the crew, and the communities we visit, we have other messages that we have to get out as well, including the fact that we know that one of the biggest challenges is creating a more efficient and sustainable future. You know, CLIA Cruise Line members have invested more than $23.5 billion in new ships with new technologies that will propel us toward this end, technologies that will benefit the entire maritime sector and further demonstrate the industry's leadership within the wider travel and tourism sector. Our commitment to leading the way in responsible tourism is in part what makes cruising one of the best ways to experience the world. And as demand for cruises increases, CLIA and our members recognize our responsibility to continue to develop innovative and respectful tourism practices. In conjunction with bodies such as the UN World Tourism Organization and the World Travel and Tourism Council, as well as other groups like the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, we're working with port cities to analyze crowding and working together to find solutions. Pioneering work in locations such as Juneau, Alaska, and Dubrovnik, Croatia, is a testament to what can be achieved when we work together. These are just a few of the ways we're focused on the future and where your voice can make a difference. So now is the time for each of us to recognize we're part of this community, to step up in the ways that you feel comfortable, to use your voice to help shape the conditions that are going to guide our future. We've seen the power of our collective voice and what we can accomplish when we band together. So let's build on this momentum by growing the number of advisors and stakeholders to help promote the merits of cruise by telling the simple truths and to help dispel the myths that are perpetuated about cruise. For our part, CLIA is here to help you, and we'll support you in these efforts in a number of ways. We'll help by providing clear and concise messaging for you to share with your customers and, in some cases, lawmakers and the media. We'll provide educational and activation opportunities so you can not only expound on the virtues of cruising to your clients, but you can also share with your clients the cruise industry's leadership in environmental sustainability, destination stewardship, workforce development, health and safety, of course, and social and economic impact. In addition, for all of you, which I'm sure there's a million, that want to become effective public speakers or even just write a letter to the editor, we'll train you to use CLIA's research and resources so every time you speak, you have a fact-based presentation. You know, with CLIA's support, you're already a trusted voice for your clients. With this additional emphasis, we'll help you expand that voice with stakeholders, including the policymakers and the media, but ultimately taking this extra step, we believe, will raise your profile and the success of your own business. Having found the power of our collective voice in difficult times, we know we're stronger moving forward together. So please know, on behalf of the entire CLIA team, we're grateful for your support. We're going to continue to work around the clock to provide you with the platform, the tools, the products, and the services you need to make your business and our industry successful. There's a lot of work left to be done, but together we'll cruise forward, we'll keep our eye on the horizon, and we'll be in search of fair winds and following seas. So as you get ready to go out and enjoy these next few days, just please know that we deeply appreciate you being part of CLIA's community, for being here today, and for doing all you do to make cruising the best way to see the world. Thank you very much.
Don't you know that there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, baby. Don't you know that there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough.
Please welcome back to the stage Charles Sylvia.
Wow, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, we are so lucky and we're so fortunate to have a leader like Kelly at our helm. And let's give it up one more time for Kelly Craighead, huh? Night and day, for the past 500 days, she stood at that helm and guided us through this, along with the entire team, and all of you. So next up, we are doing something new this year because we felt that we needed to start off the week with a strong foundation and a focus on you, our esteemed travel advisors. We have been listening to you and your perspectives surrounding our return to service, and we thought that this is the perfect opportunity to share those questions with all of you and have CLIA senior leadership respond to them. So here to get us started is someone we are always delighted to have on the Cruise 360 stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Senior Vice President of Strategic Development for Cruise Planners, Scott Kemp.
They said, come sail away, come sail away, come sail away.
There we go.
All right. Hey, hang here for a second. I've got to say, I am so excited to be here. That, by the way, is my ringtone on my phone, so I'm kind of thinking I need to answer my phone. I got to tell you, it was kind of fun. As Charlie and I are standing back there, it was like two little kids waiting to go on from recess, you know? I mean, we were just so excited to get out here because, again, this is so great to see everybody live, right? I can tell you, the thing that excites me more than anything is knowing that all of you actually own pants. I'm very, very happy about that. That's great. All right, well, Charlie, I just wanted to say, that obviously we have a love of this business and a love of this industry, but I don't think anyone loves it more than this guy right here and does a fabulous job representing all of us on the advisor side. Charlie, thank you.
Thank you so
for all you do. Well, I loved what Kelly had to say, and I love how she kind of painted the picture of what has been and then what we still need to do and what's coming. And actually, for the last few weeks, I've been asking a lot of people to provide one word that described the last 18 months that we've been in this business, and then one word to describe what's going to happen from this point forward. And actually, it's kind of struck me that this particular event, this Cruise 360 event, may be an event that we remember years and years from now where we actually made that transition from what was to what is going to be. But there was a lot of words, as you can imagine, that I got as a description over the last 18 months. Maybe about 10% of them I could repeat up here, and that's, we'll just keep it at that. But I did ask actually Kelly to give me a word, and her word, which I think is just being very true, was hell. This was an unbelievably difficult time, but I think what she proved here, and I think what all of you proved even more, was the quote from Winston Churchill that said, "When you're going through hell, keep going." And isn't that what all of you do? And you did. So give yourselves a hand. You kept going, you made it through. But now, again, we're going to focus on what we can do to move forward from this point forward. And so, as Charlie said, we actually asked a number of you advisors to share some questions, and we wanted to get the answers to those questions from the best person possible. So who would that be? Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the stage, Kelly Craighead. Here we go. Hi there.
Hi.
Well, I'll tell you
Are you going to say my second word was hope?
I'm going to get there.
Okay,
I'm going to get there. Yes, which is really what we're focused on here, is everything moving forward from here as we've gone through hell, now to go to hope, because we do have incredible hope that we're excited about for this industry. But before we get to the questions that all of you had about our business and our industry, I wanted to learn a little bit more about Kelly. So first of all, I understand you are a California girl.
I am.
Yeah, there you go. So,
although I haven't lived there in a long time, always in the heart.
Where were you born?
San Jose, California.
San Jose, cool.
Thank
Now,
you.
I
lived there when there were apple orchards, before there was apple.
Before there was a Silicon Valley and all?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
Correct.
good. So the other rumor is that you went to a school called Chico and survived it, which,
Are there
if you're not
Chico
from
people in
California,
this
you know
house?
that Chico is a bit of a party school, you might say. So how'd you do there?
How did I do that? Well, literally, it prepared me for everything I've ever needed to do in politics and government, because truly it was transformational, but it's a small school in kind of rural, small for California, rural school where 52% of all the freshmen, at least when I went there, dropped out because you do party a lot.
Wow.
But you really have to study a lot too. So really being able to balance both was really my first step towards success.
Wow, I love it. Now, obviously, that did give you some kind of preparation to then move into the world of politics, and eventually, obviously, we're lucky to have you here at CLIA. So how did that transition occur?
Yep. Well, so I really went to school to be in travel and tourism, to be in the hospitality sector. But at the time that I was going to school, I was very engaged in student government, and I really got swept away with the power of politics and really what the power of change is possible when you serve. So I got sidetracked because purely as a volunteer effort, I got caught up in politics, and I went on and I worked in the White House for 8 years. I traveled all over the world. I've been to more than 100 countries.
Wow.
And then I stayed in Washington and came back and served in another administration, and that's when it finally came back full circle, because we created a National Travel and Tourism Office. And so I represented travel and tourism on behalf of the entire United States government. And I was very proud to be able to serve. You know, the U.S. doesn't have the equivalent of a tourism minister. So I was the highest ranking official in the U.S. government. So it was really extraordinary to be able to interface with so many governments at that level on behalf of the United States.
Wow. So then, of course, at about that time, you said, well, maybe I need to find an easy job with an industry that's doing incredibly well. Everything should be very easy. And you jumped into CLIA knowing that this was going to be a cakewalk, right?
I thought this was this quiet little industry, that I was getting my just reward after all of these years of service, and lo and behold.
Wow. Well, we are lucky to have you to take us through this hell of a time that we've been through, and obviously have the hope to look forward to. So with that, let me turn it over. We're going to be hearing again from some different advisors and who have asked some specific questions, and we'll ask Kelly to answer each one. We're going to first start with Sherilyn Lofton, who's an MCC, and she's with the Group Travel and Tours and the co-owner of Discovering Cruise. Take it away.
What past experiences have you drawn up on to help you navigate this crisis?
Well, thank you, Sherilyn. As I said, I think everything I've done, I've been able to draw upon during this completely extraordinary experience. But I do think it was serving in government when the WHO had declared Ebola as a health emergency. And it's when I learned not only does how government works internally as it relates to a health crisis having to do with borders, but also just how important it was to engage stakeholders and to be able to continually provide the kind of information people needed to know so that they could go about their business.
Well, we are glad you had that knowledge to start with. I think for a lot of us here, we didn't really think about the government involvement in our industry until this last year and a half, and so obviously it's incredibly important to all of us. So we now want to hear from Eddie Diaz, who is an MCC also of Eventful Voyages Dream Vacations.
Can you give us like a sneak peek behind the scenes in the day-to-day life of a CEO of CLIA during this pandemic?
Eddie, thank you very much. Great question. I think a day in my life was very much like a day in the life of your lives, and certainly of our entire team. I can honestly tell you, I think I've slept 20 hours in 16 months, but it has been nonstop Zoom calls. CLIA operates in 5 regions around the world, and so we really do live around all the time zones. And our team in North America has just gone over and beyond to really be able to provide these virtual opportunities at a time when, people were really able to develop all of their professional skills. And I'm really proud of this group and of our team because this is the one area I can tell you we gained members. So if Charlie was here, he would tell you, but I think we're at 44,600.
And growing.
And growing.
Yeah, says Charlie. And I think that is such an important point when you think about, again, what our future holds and how we can take that what we've gone through and really show that in adversity, it's all about character. And so I think CLIA has certainly done a great job leading the way.
But I do want to say one thing about that because I said it in my remarks, but I want to say it again because this is such a strong and dynamic community. I think it is fair to say that everybody has appreciated and enjoyed the terrific kind of professional development opportunities. But I think sometimes because CLIA represents the wider cruise industry, that it's been somewhat siloed so that you couldn't really see how the work you do is so critically important or how the work that our team that has worked to support the development of this incredibly stringent policy on the mitigation of COVID-19, a policy that these cruise lines have to agree to by condition of membership. I don't think people understood how we all work together and just how incredibly important it is to have all of you in every state in the union and for all of these pieces to come together. So I really want to emphasize the point that sometimes people feel like, well, the cruise industry is the cruise lines. But the cruise industry really is everybody in this room and a whole lot of people who aren't in this room. And that's why the power of us coming together is just so powerful.
I love that on the video. It shows kind of how many people are involved in this business. So, yeah. All right, let's hear from Craig Satterfield, who's an ECCS of the Cruise Travel Outlet.
What long-term impacts or changes do you anticipate as the cruise industry emerges from this pandemic?
Great question. Craig, I think that all of you in this room who've been in this business for a while know that a lot of the changes that society has been experiencing are things that the cruise industry has had for many, many years. So as you've seen some of these enhanced measures like an increase in the onboard state-of-the-art medical equipment and what have you, I think some of these things are going to stay. But I think all of it kind of adapts and adjusts as the situation evolves. And so for me, what's exciting is that the industry is positioned to lead the way and that you can trust that wherever we are in this process, that it is a business imperative to keep people healthy and safe.
Yeah, that's well said. All right, let's go to Kimberly Simpson, ACC, an independent travel agent of IntelliTravel, for the next question.
Was there one particular moment that felt like a positive turning point for the industry? And if so, what was that?
This is one of my favorite questions because there was actually two. The first one actually came earlier last year when the European Union came together to put together a framework that's called EU Healthy Gateways. And it was this collaboration between the public sector, government authorities, and the industry to really work on a set of protocols that would let cruising resume. And so that's how you saw some of these early cruises start to resume with protocols that existed and were proven effective with a much lower incident rate of anything you were seeing on land, even before there were vaccines. And so by having this framework and the ability to start operating in places like Asia and Europe, it felt like there was hope. But then the second one, which is thanks again to all of you, was really when we launched the Ready, Set, Sail campaign. You know, I think it's something that we didn't realize how much pent-up demand there was to do something. And so I really am just proud of this community because, you know, all 100 senators were contacted, every member of the United States Congress was contacted, and the ability to just shine the light on the fact that there were protocols in place that were working and guiding restart in other parts of the world, and the fact that we were not close to operating was helpful, I think, in getting a focus on the fact that we just needed the instructions to execute during this period of time when we're in a conditional sail order.
I think you're 100% right that this time frame has brought us all together more than any other time in the history of this business. And I'll add a third one, though, and I think it's this meeting. I think, you know, this particular meeting is actually a true turning point for our industry, too. All right, Lila Nicholas, and Advisory Board and Chair of the Professional Travel Agents of North America.
Do you foresee a point in the future when the industry's COVID-19 protocols will begin to relax? Or do you think that you're here to stay?
Or do you think they'll?
But the what? The protocols.
Or if they're here to stay. Got it. I'm losing both my vision and my hearing. And I thought it was because I was in front of the computer so much, but the ophthalmologist said it's because I'm aging.
No.
So I think just like I said, I mean, I think that there are many of these enhancements that have only served to better service the passengers and the crew and the communities we visit, and I think some of them will stay. But I think some of them will go, and it's just going to be based on kind of the conditions that we encounter. And again, I just feel like it's really important to always emphasize, you know, I spent a lot of time with people like Pier Francesco Vago and Frank Del Rio and all the leaders of the cruise industry from the cruise lines, and these guys feel this deeply, personally. They're committed to the health and safety of all the people who touch this business. And so I do feel like whatever they think is going to be in the best interest of their passengers, the crew, and the communities we visit, whether they're regulated to do it or not, they're always going to take the right step.
I think there's no doubt that we all know, and we just got to make sure that the rest of the country knows that the cruising is so safe and that those protocols will be in place to keep people safe.
It is true. I mean, it's difficult. You know, I love the travel and tourism community. I love every part of it. And the reason I really was interested in this job is because there's 38 segments in travel and tourism, and it's the cruise industry that is by far the most interesting and the most dynamic. It's also one of the smallest and the most nimble, so we get to do all kinds of things, and we get to do it with every single person in this room because it really is the greatest way to see the world, and it really is just an opportunity to really adapt and adjust and to provide service in a way that you really can't find anywhere else. So.
Very true. All right, let's go to Kimberly Simpson, ACC, an independent travel agent with IntelliTravel also.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for letting me ask you a couple questions. When does your crystal ball tell you that the industry will return to pre-pandemic levels?
Ooh. Yeah, tell us all.
Yeah, I'm lucky I don't have to have a crystal ball for this because we do have a terrific set of researchers on our staff that are continually looking at this and working with the cruise lines who are also working with this. And so I think in the most optimistic time frame, I think we think in 2023. We think in a more pessimistic time frame, it's 2025. Some of it is really dependent on how we all work together. Again, as we've been trying to say, we need to get out there and tell people what the real story is and use these simple truths. So our success is really dependent on how well, in part, we're able to get the word out.
And I'll throw in from a sales perspective that that's also an opportunity, because that means you have less inventory before 23 or 25 or whatever year it might be. And so obviously we need to convince people to book now and get on board quickly.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
All right, we're going to now hear from Christopher Grum, ECC, owner and president of Premier Custom Travel.
Hi, Kelly. How does CLIA plan to address organized opposition movements like the kind that we're seeing in places like Key West and Venice? And how can we as an industry strengthen our relationships in those places to make sure concerns are being addressed before they turn into bigger problems?
Oh, Christopher, excellent, excellent, excellent question. I mean, I really do live a day where it's Venice in the morning and Key West in the afternoon. So, this couldn't be a more timely question. And really, the answer rests in deep community engagement and the commitment to the places that we visit and the expertise that the cruise lines, our tour operators, all of this greater cruise community can provide to really understand what the problems are and help to solve them. But part of it is not just the action, and I don't want to just kind of keep belaboring this, but we do need to tell the story of who cruise is, because in Venice, for example, for a long time, the government allowed only one way into Venice, and we, for a long time, would be very happy to take an alternative route. And so we were actually really pleased with the announcement that just came out that we would relocate to an interim place at Marghera, because we do want to be a good actor in these places. And so we welcome that news. And what we can do in the future is part of ourselves being organized, ourselves lifting up our voice, and again, using research and fact-based arguments to really engage our neighbors and to engage the influencers in our community, and again, try to at least correct misinformation.
I did a tour of the CLIA offices, if you remember, a while back, and it was amazing to me, even though I've been around the industry a very long time, there are so many different areas that CLIA is involved with. And again, protecting all of our interests and to make sure that we are represented in every little area. So sometimes you may think of CLIA in one way, but you can think of them in lots of ways.
Yep.
All right, let's hear from Christopher Grum, also the owner of Premier Custom Travel, I think, for another question.
Mere weeks ago, it seemed the prospect for a cruise season in Alaska this year was all but lost, and yet here we are. Can you walk us through this turnaround and what it means for those communities in Alaska?
How many people here, just by clapping your hands, have had the chance to go to Alaska? Really is one of the most extraordinary wonders in the world that's part of the United States. And so you know that it's a great example of how cruise travel can take you to places that you couldn't otherwise get to, at least not easily. And so these communities, particularly in southeastern Alaska, are almost entirely dependent on a functioning cruise industry. And I have to say, the delegation, the senators, Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan, Congressman Don Young, who also went to Chico, their state legislature, really leaned in to just the importance of being able to let the cruise industry resume. And again, they were able to build on a lot of these arguments that the industry had restarted and was operating successfully in other parts of the world. And I like to tell this story because we're in the middle of the Olympics, but literally, they were able to execute a perfect 10 performance by really navigating the United States Congress to remove some of the final barriers for us to be able to cruise. So the first ships have already started sailing in Alaska. I'm entirely grateful to everyone who really leaned in, because if these communities lost another season, I think you heard me say that last year Alaska lost $3 billion in revenue. That is a tremendous amount of money that goes away from a tax base, which means you lose schools, you lose hospitals, people have to move. And so it really was vitally important that not only were we able to have the Alaska Tourism Recovery Act passed, but that the cruise lines really, turned on a dime to vaccinate all of the crew, to really be able to work to identify and source, and I think we're seeing this throughout the industry, not just the cruise industry, but travel and tourism, to be able to service passengers. So I think one of my favorite emails that our team here at Cruise360 sent out was to pack your patience. And I think you're seeing that all the way through, we're all struggling to get back, because it doesn't just happen overnight.
No, although I think you used the term earlier that was almost miraculous, the amount, how fast that happened in Congress to get something like that done that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, really, it never happens.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. All right, let's hear from Craig again of the Cruise Travel Outlet and hear what the question he's got.
Some in Congress would like to do away with the Passenger Vessel Services Act, or the PVSA, which requires cruise ships to stop in Canada first. What is CLIA's position on the PVSA? Do you think it'll undergo any changes in the near future?
That's a great question. It builds on our last topic, because the PVSA really is in place to provide some things regarding defense and the economy. And so we've been able as an industry to really manage through the PVSA. And we understand where there is that kind of benefit to it existing. So we're grateful that we were able to get the waiver. This is where there was clearly a perfect 10 performance to be able to make that happen. But I think that you can see that the PVSA is something that we have operated and will continue to operate with it in place.
Okay. For years, of course, we misnamed that the Jones Act, and we've called it that, but you basically think it's, at least a version of it will continue into the future.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's one of those kind of arcane, like I have learned so much in this time that I've been here, it's like dog years, but it's part of these arcane laws that actually do track back and have some merit, and everything sometimes seems to be a blessing and a curse, but we've been able to figure out how to manage it.
Perfect. All right, let's hear from Eddie again of Eventful Voyages.
What do you see as CLIA's top priorities for the remaining 2021 and obviously the new year 2022?
I want to know who was standing in what line that they got the chance to ask all these questions. Well, clearly our top priority for the rest of this year is to continue supporting the resumption of cruising. We're fortunate that we'll get to 50% of where we need to be, or in terms of the number of ships in the fleet that are sailing. But continuing to follow this health emergency and to be able to support all of our members and all of our partners to really be able to succeed and start to build back is our priority for this year. What has been our priority, but what we haven't been able to talk as much about because we have been talking so much about health and safety and resumption, is what we always keep our eye on, which is environmental sustainability and the sustainability of the destinations. And so I think you can see that as we start to resume, you'll start to hear and see again just how important it is that we all as a community focus on these challenges and work together to find the solutions. And so one of the reasons why we want to expand our offerings to you as travel advisors to help give you access to the research and to the resources we have, and to ask you to step up and speak in the ways that you're comfortable, is because this is a big challenge, and our companies have invested mightily to be able to reach some of these ambitious targets, but it's going to be hard. And so we really do need ideas, and we do need people to talk about what we have already accomplished.
That's great. All right, let's hear from Sherilyn Lofton again, MCC with Group Travel and Tours.
The hardships from the pandemic are many, and I think we are all quite familiar with them. But I'm curious, What would you consider to be the most significant positive outcome from this experience?
You know, I think, I loved when Charlie came out here. And I love that you think that this is going to be like a pivotal moment in the kind of the story of our recovery. And it really is because I think for me, the most significant positive outcome that's come out has been the fact that this group of people have come together, that collectively we're all stronger together, and that we really have something now that we can use to move forward better together.
I think there's just no doubt that again, from adversity comes benefits, and there's going to be some great things to carry us forward. All right,
But
our
wait,
last question.
Wait, what's your answer to that question?
My answer to that question, well, I'm going to come back to actually all of the benefits that I think we've gotten through this is that I think for a lot of us, we had to take that step back and not only deal with, obviously, the cancellations and the rebookings and the things that drove us crazy over a long period of time, but again, thinking forward and what else can we do to make this, better in the future. And I think one of the things that struck me is that there really are a few different audiences out there. And I think one of the things that's going to change as we move forward is the way that we on the retail side and our cruise line partners are going to have to go to market, because we all know that the loyalists who love cruising, they don't really need to be convinced of a lot. They know the cleanliness, they know all the other things, they're ready to go. But the other folks have concerns, and those concerns are changing a little bit. So maybe it used to be, in the old days of being confined or being whatever it might be. Now you've got some of these other issues, and I think we need to make sure that we're messaging those people properly as we move forward. So I think that'll be a big change.
So let me ask you one other question, because we know from our research that we shared with you yesterday as part of the Premier Summit is that it's Gen Z. So millennials obviously were one of the segments that were really attracted and new to cruise, but now Gen Z seems to be a little bit soft. So since you're the king of retail, how are you thinking about that?
Well, I think, again, it's consistency of message. I think that's really what it comes down to. And it is interesting, and elaborating on what you're saying there, is that, obviously you've got all the different generations, the traditionalists and the boomers, et cetera, and they've been around longer, so they've seen things for a long time. The Gen Z are coming in, and I think in general are skeptical about anything until someone sits down and says, let me explain the realities and explain what's going on. And I think that's where we have this great opportunity, that it may not be as easy as just slapping hey, I've got a great offer on a cruise, that there's going to be that time to sit with them and explain this is a great way to see the world, and it is a beneficial way for economies and sustainability and everything else that we talk about. I think it's just a little bit more investment of time for that group.
Sorry to throw that one in.
That's quite all right. That's okay. I'll be on the hot seat too. We can share it. That's all right. So last question. Lila Nicholas, Advisory Board Chair of the Professional Travel Agents of North America. Once again, last question. Go ahead, Lila.
Hello, Ms. Craighead. I have a question. What role do you think travel advisors can play in advancing the industry's goals on the road to recovery?
Since I can't see a single soul out there. Because if I could, I would call on someone to see if you were listening. So since I can't see anyone but you, Scott, what do you think the answer is to that question?
Well, I think it's an expansion of what I just said. It really is, we need to, as an industry and as individual advisors, really take the time to explain cruising. And again, for someone who's been on 8 cruises, that isn't a lot of time. We don't need to spend a lot of time there. We need to just find the right thing for them. But for others who are new to cruise in particular, which I think you had mentioned earlier, that we've got to find 7 million more people in the next few years. Just 7 million. So to find those, it's not like the old days where you could just throw an ad on the television set and then you reach millions and millions and millions and suddenly everybody now wants to go cruising. It's a different world, and I think the role of the advisor has changed dramatically, in that we're not agents anymore, really. We've kind of moved away from that term, that we really are advisors, and we're going to be spending more one-on-one time with our customers.
Yep. And so I want to add to it so good answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. But I think that it really does start with understanding that you as advisors are part of the cruise community. The ability to not only extol the virtues of cruising, but to really start to understand how some of these questions and issues impact the demand and your access to information and your willingness to use it in whatever ways you think are comfortable, I think are going to be a market advantage. I think we do need to, I have kids, they spend a lot of time on TikTok. Anybody know what that is?
Gen Z does.
I think we need to be really creative about how we have credentialed voices like all of you who can dispel the myths, give the factual realities of what cruising is, and to really get to that place where at least we're on a level playing field so we can compete with some of the other holiday offerings. And that's why I have such tremendous confidence in this community, because we do have unbelievable resources to support you. And so far, we've been very focused on giving you the professional development to grow your business. And it's only really because of this crisis that we were like, everybody's got to be on the same page. We all have to be marching forward, that we really discovered that we can open up all of these offerings to really support you because it supports your business. And that together we'll really be able, I think, to do better than those 7 million in 4 years.
We'll get them. We'll get them. But I think that ties into the education that CLIA provides, right? I mean, it's a little different than, again, the old days when I was starting off. The emphasis was, the front of the ship is called the bow and the back is called, maybe we still need that a little bit, but what we really need now is what is the messaging or what are the concerns? I mean, in other words, why are the Gen Z hesitant about cruising?
Yep.
And it isn't because they don't know the front from the back of a ship.
Right.
There are other issues, and those are the kinds of things that they can get from CLIA and that CLIA offers educationally to know the customer, number one, and then to know the answers to give them on overcoming their concerns.
But it's also the fun part. I mean, I don't know about any of you, but I literally have sat in one place for 16 months. I really don't miss getting dressed, but I really do miss traveling. And what's exciting about the cruise industry is there's so many great ships, there's so many great destinations, there's so much to do. And so for as heavy as it feels to say there's all these issues that we have to both correct perception and promote simple truths, there's also such awesomeness out there. And I think that we're tired and we want to travel and we want to recover, and there's no better way to do it than to call a travel advisor who can tell you what's right for you. Because I'm newly-ish in this job, everybody asks me, what cruise line should I go on? And the real answer is there's something for everybody, but the only way to know what's right for you is to call a travel advisor and to really be able to be able to share what it is you want to do and how you want to do it, so that we can really make sure that you are a repeat cruiser, because we need new cruisers. Yeah.
Yes. Well said.
I do think that's the great opportunity for this community, is to take the basics that we learned to introduce you about the industry, and then to work with our cruise lines who are so good at really cultivating the particularities of their lines. So it's a good team effort.
It is. It's great. Kelly, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. Let's give it up for Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
I'm sure I can stand.
All right.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your afternoon filled with more CLIA seminars where you can work towards your certifications and professional development. Have a nice day.